Hi, everyone. Welcome to Typical Tech Lad, where we get to see tech for what it is. In today's video, we'll be comparing the Honor Pad 9 and the Redmi Pad Pro. We'll be checking out the design and build of each tablet, display, speakers, and performance. Check out my channel for dedicated in-depth review videos on both tablets.
The Pad 9 text on the front, then we get USB-C charging cable and paperwork including a quick start guide and warranty information, and that's all we get in the box, and of course the tablet itself, so no charging brick included. So we'll check out what we get with the box. So pop off the lid here. As usual, the tablet sitting on top with a bit more information on the specs. So we have the USB-C charging cable, quick start guide and warranty notice, and a SD card tray ejecting pin, and then the tablet itself, and no charging brick to be seen. So for design and build, so the top of the tablet we have the volume and power buttons with two microphones. To the right we have the speaker grills and the charging port. Around the bottom we have more speakers, and to the left we have additional speakers, so that's 8 speakers in total. On the front we have the front facing camera, and then around the back this aluminium unibody casing along with the camera. So up front of the Redmi Pad Pro we have a large 12.1-inch display with symmetrical bezels all around. Looking at it in landscape, to the right we have 2 speaker grills, a headphone jack and the USB-C port. Around the bottom there is nothing. To the left side we have 2 more speaker grills, Dolby Vision Atmos branding, and then the power/lock button. And up top we have the 2 volume buttons, 2 microphones and SD card tray, which allows expandable storage of up to 1.5 terabyte. Around the front we have the 8 megapixel front camera, and then turning to the back we can see this unibody aluminium casing with the Redmi branding here in the corner, and then the normal UK blurb at the bottom here, and then the 8 megapixel rear camera along with LED flash. So the Honor Pad 9 has a 12.1-inch IPS display with a resolution of 2560 by 1600 pixels, which equates to 249 ppi, running at 120 Hz refresh rate. Peak brightness is at 400 nits, but reflectivity can become an issue in more brighter environments. Viewing angles are what you would expect from an IPS LCD display, with slight color temperature shifting at certain angles, still viewable at more extreme angles, so not too bad. We have 4K YouTube playback. So to start off with, thank you to Mobile information on that card there. And we also have 60 FPS supported, but I noticed the video becomes choppy when choosing the option. And if I drop it back down to 1080p 60 FPS, it was playing absolutely fine. We have Wide WAN Level 1 support on Netflix, but obviously no HDR support on this panel. So the display is fine, what you would expect from an LCD panel. Viewing angles are good and colors are nice and sharp, and obviously on an LCD panel they are the most accurate. Outdoor in direct sunlight the display suffers quite a bit. You literally can't see the screen, but out of direct sunlight and generally outside. The Redmi Pad Pro has a 12.1-inch LCD 2.5K display, and that's running up to 120 Hz. PPI comes in at 249, so reasonable, and is covered in Corning Gorilla Glass 3. So we have 500 nits typical brightness and then 600 nits for high brightness mode on this tablet. And then we'll have a quick look in the settings on the display. Usual stuff: auto brightness, sunlight mode, color scheme, vivid, saturated, standard, and then you can also turn on adaptive colors if you choose to do so. And then we also have refresh rate, so we can either have default, which is recommended and it adjusts based on the scenarios for balanced performance, or you can pick your own 60, 90 or 100 if you want 120 if you want to lock it to a certain refresh rate yourself. And then we have smart cover mode, which is also a separate purchase for the smart cover. Viewing angles generally okay, slight dip in brightness levels and slight temperature shift at more extreme angles, but what we expect from an LCD panel. 4K 60 FPS playback is supported on YouTube, and there's no HDR capability on YouTube here as far as I can see. Wide WAN Level 1 supported on Netflix with full HD playback and Dolby Atmos for HDR capabilities. So playback on Netflix, really nice, pictures look vivid, nice colors on there, and I've got Rick and Morty as my usual reference content. But for me, generally, screen nice and sharp, colors on here are really good. Obviously depends on which color setting you have set up. And then outside you can see the usual behavior for a glass panel. You're going to get reflectivity issues, but the screen is still legible in brighter light. We have 8 speakers set up on the Honor Pad 9, and these are Hissen tuned. But if you have a quick look at the settings, we can see here sounds and effects. You could check out the 3D sound. And then if you jump into sound style, you can kind of pick which kind of sound style you want to have. So you've got vocals, movie, music, gaming. But we'll have a listen and see what it sounds like, and we'll crank it up to 100%.
I feel nauseous, believe me. Never had a lot of shit come easy.
Bass sitting on top of that. So if you're just heading to the settings to see what kind of options we have always on display settings. So we can either choose from AMOLED, The Redmi Pad Pro has 4 speakers, and we'll have a quick look in sound effects. So we can choose Dolby Atmos or Xiaomi sound, and then your graphic equalizer, standard stuff here, rock, jazz, classical, whichever you wanted to choose if you prefer. I'm going to leave it on custom, so we'll have a listen to see what the speakers are like. Camera module is raised, so we're going to get some rocking when laying flat. Build-wise, I can hear some creaking. Overall, seems sturdy as much as you can expect from a plastic build on a budget IPS LCD panel with quite a bit of dimming of the screen as the angles get more extreme. Now let's shift our attention to the inside of the Honor Pad 9. We're working with the Snapdragon 6 Generation 1, which is fabricated on the 4nm process, paired with the Adreno 710 GPU, and we have 8GB plus 8GB virtual RAM, which Honor called Honor Turbo. And then we have a total of 256GB storage, which is the only combination available here in the UK. So we'll check out some benchmarks, and TUTU score here of 467,047 I got, which is reasonable for an entry-level / mid-range CPU. Geekbench 6 scores here, 907 single, 2596 on the multi. And then Wildlife Extreme Test, I mean, it was hitting around 4-5 frames per second. Check out some games on the Honor Pad 9. On the right, I have a timer so you can see how long I've been playing for. And then the battery percent to start off before we start is at 76%. So we'll jump straight into PUBG, and you can see HD is the highest that is allowed for the graphics. Everything else is not available. And then we have high refresh rate available. So I'm just going to jump straight in. And apologies, I wasn't able to provide real-time FPS and temperature monitoring, but from what I can see, the game is definitely not running at a very high FPS rate, but still smooth. It's definitely not hitting 60 frames. So after roughly 9 minutes of playing PUBG, we have dropped down to 73%, and we'll jump into Genshin Impact. I'm gonna crank everything up to the highest available, so 60 frames on here. And I feel like Genshin Impact is running smoother FPS-wise, and that could be down to the game being better optimized. And again, I don't think it's hitting 60 FPS, but it definitely was running smoother than PUBG. So after roughly 18 minutes of gaming, we're down to 68% battery, and the temperature was at 35 degrees. Next, I'm going to jump into Jaeger. Personally love this game. Again, I'm going to crank everything up to the highest available. And then we'll jump straight into this and see what this performs like. 39 minutes in and we're down to 63% for battery. Not bad, but the games are definitely not hitting the higher end of the FPS range, which isn't surprising considering it's mid-range CPU and GPU. Call of Duty, again, we have high for graphics and max on refresh. And again, an enjoyable experience. Just keeping in mind that for any heavier gaming, we're going to have a limitation on graphics itself. But we can see 35 minutes I've been gaming now and still tablet was working absolutely fine, 59% there. When it comes to performance, the Redmi Pad Pro is running on the Snapdragon 7S Gen 2 CPU. And I stated earlier, I have the 8GB RAM version, which is LPDDR4X, and then there's 256GB, which is UFS 2.2. You can also bump the RAM up by an additional 8GB via memory extension. I'm just going to turn that on. And then just browsing through what different options we have on the tablet. Xiaomi interconnectivity allows you to collaborate or connect with other devices in the Xiaomi range. So you can have home screen plus, clipboard copying over. In the other connectivity, we have the normal stuff here: Mi Share, Cast, wireless display, printing, and then biometrics wise, you have screen lock and face unlock, so there's no fingerprint reader on this device. And then benchmark scores on Geekbench 6, we got 984 for single and 2648 on the multi-score, reasonable. And then for 3D Mark, I couldn't run benchmarks because it was saying it was unable to connect to the servers, and they said there was something about it could be where the manufacturer is blocking this. And 2.2, we got 504,744, so not the highest score obviously, but again reasonable. So we'll check out some gaming to see how the tablet handles various games. Battery to start off with is at 78%, and we'll jump into Asphalt 9 to kick things off. So I have it set to 60 FPS frame rate and then high quality graphics. And you can see for this game at least, it was running absolutely fine. We can see it's hitting 59, 60 FPS. So smooth gameplay on here and a joy to play. Next we'll move on to Call of Duty Warzone, and in the settings we have the options of mid and high for visual quality, and I'm going to set the FPS to 60 and performance optimization for frame rate. And I've got my PlayStation controller connected, which I find to be a much more enjoyable experience rather than using the on-screen controls, especially with a game like this. And 7 minutes in, and we can see the FPS is hovering around 45 to 55. Temperature is at 36.4 degrees. But absolute joy playing this game. Obviously graphics aren't the highest, which would be peak in the settings, but still decent enough. And then after that little session, battery is down to 72%, so that's after 15 minutes. Next we'll play PUBG, and we got Ultra HDR and Ultra for FPS in the graphic settings. Pick up some of these items here. 20 minutes hitting at 40 FPS on PUBG, and the temperature is sitting around 37 degrees, but there's been a lot of talk about compatibility issues with PUBG and different devices and not hitting the higher FPS range, so that's a thing to keep in mind. And then after 23 minutes of gaming, we're down to 69% battery now. Next we'll quickly check out Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Absolutely love this game. Bumped the resolution up to the max, and this game ran absolutely fine. Joy to play, love it. Driving around, retro vibes. Hitting 30 FPS, which is the max on here, and the game, like I said, running nice. Next we'll check out Jaeger, another graphically intense game if you choose to do so. I'll set it to Ultimate, and it's very high on all the other settings. And in this case, at the highest graphic settings, we can see the tablet is struggling to get anywhere near 60 FPS. It's hovering around 16 to 25 range, and the temperature is increased to 41 degrees. So I'm going to bump the graphics down to HD to see if that helps FPS. And we can see after that, FPS is slightly better with the graphics set to HD now. So it's reaching the high 40s / low 50s. So after 35 minutes of gaming, we ended up on 63% battery, and the takeaway is that the tablet can handle games at more moderate graphic settings, so don't expect high graphics and high FPS as a combination, so you'll have to sacrifice one of them.